Hey, good morning, everybody. Right, you know what? This market is crazy. You see, it's up here, and it's all. Is he crazy or crazy like a fox? The president. Everybody's got their own opinions, but now he backs off on some of his comments as to I think it was Iran and oil drops, and wow, crazy as the president, I guess. But let's see what's going on here. So that rotation is, like I said in that opening thing, it's freaking vicious, man. And so look what, let's take a look. It just happens so fast. Things just happen so fast. AI, the internet, what have you. Okay, I see. All right. But I think the market, I said a few weeks ago or sometime last year, it's like this market walks on eggshells but can't crack them. And just look at the money flow into defense. Look at that. I mean, uh, Staples have been doing nothing for the most part. We could look at the weekly chart, but you can see, take my word for it, just whips up and down, but for the most part, lower. No one's really interested in things that people need. You know, healthcare started doing better at the end of last year, and we got a little buy set up there on the daily time frame, pull back into support. So this is a really good swing trading setup, and it's a basic setup that we've used myself anyway, for 30 years. Um, Strong move, pull back, sort of, I've referred to as a hook pattern. It looks kind of like a hook, right? Like a fishing hook, push up and a little barb and turning higher there. Um, and then one of the most unloved sectors, real estate. A lot of talk over the year or two about commercial real estate and the risks there and related to interest rates and so on. Money flows into there. And utilities, which have rotation word, from put your grandma in there for the dividend to momentum industry for providing energy to AI. But this had a pretty big correction, and here is a little downside shakeout. So this is something I've talked the last few weeks about, looking for a position in that, a new position. And this is what's setting up. Now it's at the top of the range there. We'd like to see a little choppy price action. I'm going to see where this is doing in a little while. Maybe it's pulling back a little bit since the market is moving up, and maybe some of this money that's flowed into defense, people are now thinking, hey, you know what? Why do you need defense for? Trump just backed off, and things are moving back up again. So it's kind of, schizophrenic and energy. This not what's happening at the moment, but I imagine it's gapping down. And now look at financials. Earnings are coming out. It's in a nice uptrend. And if you look at this, eh, another view of the craziness, this doesn't look so bad on a weekly time frame. You can see this rounding top, and it starts breaking down, and you got this topping tail bar, a little failure, and then it rips right back up again. And now a little breakout failure right there. And it's pulling back. And it's in an uptrend. So we give that the benefit of the doubt. So when we go back to the daily time frame and breaking down below these pivots, that's a violation of the trend on the daily time frame. So materials have been coming on strong. They tend to be a pretty erratic, as you can see, sector, but uh, and this is money rotating into there. Discretionary, one of the better looking ones, that broke down and back up again. More schizo price action, breakdown and immediate recovery, and pulling back. Look for a buy setup, and so on, as you can see across the board there. And then, of course, the spiders. We'll take a look at these and we'll see what's happening in the moment. Um, but here you had the little mini breakout failure, push up above the pivot, And earlier this week, or last week, we talked about, you know, volatility contraction, not about trend lines, but how things were contracting and the spring coiling. And so there it is, the breakout. And so trend line traders say, oh, it broke out above my line. I connected the dots. We look at that and say, okay, fine. We agree with the momentum of that move and that little topping tail that's ignored, but it's up against resistance. So now yesterday, it looks like how it's going to do a nosedive, comes back at the end of the day. Traders are still apprehensive because of walking on the eggshells, and it forms a bottoming tail bar. Now it's up. We're going to see where it is right now. But had that closed near the low of the day, and it only moved up. Um, let's look at the intraday charts. I'm going long here. You can see at the end of the day there, it was teetering. So in the room yesterday, I mentioned, okay, the way this was moving down, it should come down into here. And then it's going sideways and it looks like it's going to dive down to the next pivot low, but it winds up holding there. And you can see near the end of the day there, after it took some time and it couldn't go down, traders say, screw this about the short side, and they buy the cover, and that creates this bottoming tail bar. And so while we look at a bottoming tail bar in the context of buyers stepped up from an intraday point of view, it's like, okay, they just didn't want to stay short overnight. So when we look at daily bars, one of the part of our process is to look at the structure, how it formed intraday. So now news-wise, it's gapping up. We're going to see where it is. And you can see semiconductors, all over the place, now back up. And one of the comments I made over the weekend in the letter, and I think even here Monday, was like, market's firing on all cylinders. Do we need to be concerned? And we get these crazy gyrations. But you could see here software and internet, money is rotating out of that a bit more viciously. And you look at Microsoft breaking down, and NVIDIA was starting to break down. I'm curious to see where that is right now, but it's a little crazy. All right, so let's see where things are at. Get this out of the way. And there on Trump's comments about backing off on Iran, oil drops, and a reversal. So every morning, almost every morning, I say, okay, this is where we're at. Now we have to see what happens, by the end of the day. Does it hold on to this reversal? And if it does, that supports a bias that's going to go higher. You have to get a little walking on those eggshells with the comments that come out of the president that gyrates things. Now, that being said, you got to give the benefit of the doubt to higher highs and higher lows, even though this is not such a clean higher highs and higher lows because of the overlapping bars. Nonetheless, it's an uptrend. It's also options expiration. And what happened yesterday with the Supreme Court backing off from the decision? Another reason. I don't know if they're going to do it today at the end of the week or not at all, but that was supposed to be coming, and then it wasn't. So just more news pushing markets around. And the options expiration we're going to see. Now look at this. Up, up. And what is this? It's back up to the top of the trading range where we know sellers have been over and over and over again. So, and this is when we start looking for 1, 2, 3 patterns. Now, this is not your ideal 1, 2, 3 pattern because it's not breaking out. But the idea behind it is that the wide range bar was a momentum move. For this morning, it's like, okay, does it hold on to the momentum move or not? As it comes up to resistance, prior day or days, does it hold on to that and form the 2-day a consolidation intraday and then break out? So again, we'll just have to see where this is at the end of the day. But right now, it's up at the top of the trading range. YM underperforming. Interesting. First time I'm looking at this with you, but it's been chopping back and forth. It was the outperformer. Look at the move over those highs. It's just marking time right now. And look at the little rejection right there as it tried to get above those highs as others moved, and this one got rejected. And where are our Russell marching higher? And so with this walking on eggshells, speculative stocks day by day make higher highs and higher lows. Go figure. So when I say it, that's from the context of historically, if traders, institutions are apprehensive, we see that price action on the others, they're not so anxious about speculative stocks and small caps. They tend to underperform, and especially in light of move into defensive. Oh, all right. So here's oil, which we all remember Venezuela and markets. Oil price of oil moves up. Trump backs off. Oil down hard. Now that's a breakout. Well, you got to respect it. There should be buyers on the pullback regardless of the news. Similar, what we saw SVX and some of these oil stocks, they gapped up on that, came down real hard. This was a power move. Buyers step up and push it up again. And you look at the weekly chart when things are messy like that, and it just needs to consolidate its gains. Bitcoin, not bad. Here's the breakout, bottoming pattern, closing above the 50, consolidation day. And so yesterday I said, what do you do with this? You buy it. And here's another one of those little hook patterns, but this one was in a sideways trend. If today's a consolidation day, look long. Weekly chart, it's got room to go up. So far, we got a weekly wide range bar. That's bullish. 65 minutes in an uptrend. And I suspect after 2 up days that this would chop around a bit. We'll see what it does. Right. Gold should be down. And you can see it's down a little bit. It's just consolidating. Beautiful uptrend. Why should it be down? Well, because based on what the president said, a little more risk on kind of thing. Well, let's take some money in the gold and silver. That's extended, so it makes sense that it's backing off a little bit just based on its trend. All right, I got to see where the SPX extremes are today. Covered all of those. Let me just retail. I was curious there because I know the weekly was forming one of those 1, 2, 3s, wide range up, and it's just consolidating. And on the daily, that's consolidating near those highs. And curious to see what that's going to be doing in the next day or two. That looks like it could go higher. So people spending money. All right. Where are the spiders at? We know that they're up and near the top of the range, gapping up to the 2 days ago, that closing price, give or take, and as to where they are now. Maybe they can get to the top of the range, but I'm suspecting that it's going to stay within the range. And so well, I don't have to draw it out. There's the top of the range. I think based on the chart that it's going to trade in between here today. And again, repeating it, it's options expiration week. And that tends to have the ability to put the broader markets anyway into a range bound thing where it bounces back and forth between the strikes, draining the premiums out of them. So SPX yesterday, the extremes were not touched, and I don't have a hard statistic in a spreadsheet to show you, but just having done this for a long time, while these extremes do get hit occasionally, I would just venture to say 98% of the time they don't. Let's call it 95 to 98% of the time they never hit those extremes on a day-to-day basis, which is an excellent guide. And so this here has expanded a little bit with those ranges to 54 points a day, which gives us another guide as to on a day-to-day basis. The 5-day average true range right now is about 50 points. And what about today? Okay, so now today, expiring today, the extreme is at 7,000, which makes total sense. Why does it make total sense? Because I've been saying for I guess, the last month or so, that the extreme, the pin where puts and calls are at 7,000. So while that could have a tendency to gravitate toward that, it's going to be an area of overhead resistance. And based on where things are at, it ain't going up there today. And if it does, it's going to back off from there. But you got to pick your spot. This is just, your guide. All right. And let's see what the downside is. It should have come way up. 68.80. Yeah. All right. Could it go back down there today, gapping up to here? I think not. So it's a little closer to the top strike. It's not going down there today unless something new comes out of Trump's mouth. I don't think it's going to do something to somebody. In any event, those are the extremes. That's where we're at. I suspect we're going to stay somewhere within this range back and forth. And our goal, stay out of the chop and see what is doing well or not. All right. Yours, Dan.
Had an alarm on ARKK go off. That's updating that for the ETF letter. Looks similar to, well, it's not Bitcoin. This is stronger than Bitcoin, but the ARK innovation. I don't know what's under the hood. But we bought a half lot on Tuesday. And now we can do the back half over the week's high. Looks great. 1 second, updating the spreadsheet. Looks like it's going to go off right at the open. So we'll put it down here. Alarms, car. I just had an up alarm go off. This is a small little bull flag buy setup after breakout. So that looks good over yesterday's time. Depending on where it opens, we'll have to adjust the entry. So let me put that here. Car. Paul, we're still in trail mode for a little bit. Let's get up and down with gold. Our stop's under that big bar, so it's an early alarm curve. Now we're in a put spread. And I had this as a 30-minute high yesterday, which now with the gap, I wish it hit. But that's a big gap. There's a 1, 2, 3 bottoming pattern, inverse head and shoulder. Looks great. I was waiting for 10 a.m. thinking of the Supreme Court decision. That's why I waited. But we'll watch that on a pullback. I ran up alarm. We're both long and put spread. TMC. I had an up alarm go off. That's hoping for a 1, 2, 3. It's consolidation pattern, flat 2050. I actually shorted the 750 puts yesterday for Friday. On the video we were watching short, we actually bought puts on that little breakdown and just got caught in that bounce, the Trump bounce. And it's gapping up. The big news is TSM, Taiwan Semiconductor. They're ripping, gapped up on earnings. And then they're committing another 50 billion for AI development. So there's look at these, there's a ton of them. SMHs, look at that. Look at the gap in the all-time highs. Semis. But look how extended a bunch of these are. Look at that. AMAT up $23. Now, today's Thursday, so 30-minute lows. Some of these could be 1 DTE call spreads, but look how strong that's holding. Up $92, and that's a bullish 15-minute chart. So that is not ready for a call spread. Same with this. Look at clack 15-minute. But I mean, there's no swing pattern, that's for sure. Day trading pattern, I mean, you got to wait. I would say at least an hour and let it build a base. That's those with NVIDIA and Abgo at lows. Yeah, no, I know, right. So these are very different. I'm not a semiconductor expert, but are these what they call the pits and shovels? You know, are they building the infrastructure? Is my take that they're up on the 50 billion AI investment comment. Abgo, yeah, yeah, that was a bottoming pattern, deep retracement yesterday. Got whipped around. Those are all my alarms. No, let's just go to earnings here. But spot I have is a Climo watch. I looked at a put spread, but the spreads were ridiculous. But you know, 30-minute high over, well, let me rephrase, over yesterday's high after 10 a.m. is how I like trading these. That's a Climo. It could bounce for 1 to 3 days. Or I mentioned Sidhu's a buy setup. Gapping up to 415 though. You need a pullback curve. We talked about RK talked about. Let me go to earnings. Infi actually opening down a little bit. This, you know, I mentioned this tail is scrunching the data. Let me open it up. Yeah, see if you open it up, that's a big bar. That's a big move from 1750. So I don't want to do anything with that unless it give me a couple inside bars. Home B, ugly overlapping bars. Cody down a little bit, no pattern. That would have been a good bottoming pattern. Had it open flat and buy yesterday's high. But gap messed it up, so no interest. Oh, six. Yeah, that's a bearish gap right to the breakout area. Let's see if buyers step up. It'll be a 1 DTE foot spread. 25. Wow, gapping up to the 200 here. Calibo Growers. I think this is a marijuana company, but I don't know of any marijuana company over $10. So I wonder if this did a 100-for-1 reverse split. Because they're, you know, pot stocks are in the toilet for years. Gapping up to $9, excessive. MATX 142. It's a gap breakout, but you know, up $10. More so, yeah. Why is the Dow underperforming? Let's glance at the. Well, that's why. Right here, Goldman down 19. I just answered it. Remember, the Dow is based on price capitalization, not market value. So the more expensive the stock, the more effect it has. So a $900 stock down $19. That's the culprit right there. Because if you were to take that out, I know which is misleading, but if you were, the market would be up, the Dow would be up huge. Microsoft up 4, Cat up 6, Amazon up almost 4. And the others that are down are less than $1. Well, CVX down 2. Um, but yeah, can't do anything about it. I think it's stupid, that price capitalization. I mean, it's stupid, but amazingly, it seems to work because they trade fairly similarly. I just had an alarm go off here on CDW. This is a short. I had an alarm at 132.10. So that I will be watching for maybe 5, 10, ideally 30-minute low. Put that in a window, CDW. Morgan was up, now down, less than $1 though, but nothing to do. BlackRock, that's a beautiful put spread pattern. With this, you had a 1, 2, 3, and a couple more inside bars with a gap reversal and a void. 11. The gap's too big. I was about to look, but good luck, $1,000 stock getting a tight spread on the options, but gap's too big. If it were opening up at 1100, if your trading plan doesn't mind you trading $1,000 stocks, that would have been a great 5-minute high for a directional day trade. Spot alarm just went off. That's the climb I was talking about. Maybe 5-minute high. Qs and spiders are still gunning here pre-market 627, but that resistance. Two more earnings here. FHN, no pattern. IIIN. That's a mess. So I'm done with earnings. All right. I posted a couple new longs last night. NASDAQ here was one of them. Let's wait 5-minute high. Alarm just went off. TMC gap down. That's the one I'm waiting for. I was hoping for 1, 2, 3. The movie channel. TRS up alarm. Nice. Let me reset the alarm. Yeah, if you look on the 15 and hourly charts, we're just gapping right to resistance, Q spiders. So I got no interest rushing in the longs here. Alex Ball alarm. That was years from yesterday. Car alarm. Yeah, eBay, I adjusted the stop earlier. Yep, yep. Remember I was contemplating selling the 95 6 calls yesterday and I said no, I didn't want to. I didn't want to cap the gains, so that was a good